Hey you, and welcome to True Crime Channel. And in this video, it's a Tuesday morning. You wake up, heads pounding, maybe a sore throat. What do? You do what we all do. You go to the medicine cabinet. You grab that bottle you've seen your whole life, the one your parents always gave you. You pop the top, take a capsule, maybe two. But this time, you don't feel better. This time, you hit the floor, and you never get back up. Because someone, a faceless monster, turned that trusted bottle into a weapon. They snuck into stores, opened the capsules, and filled them with a poison so deadly, the victims never stood a chance. This is the story of a nation terrified, a killer who was never caught, and how one of the most infamous crimes in history changed the world forever. Before we get into it, please subscribe to see new stories for the dark every single week. Now, let's give it a go. So this all kicks off back in the autumn of 1982 in the suburbs of Chicago, a time when you didn't think twice about popping a pill from a bottle that didn't have a seal on it. Because why the hell would you? The biggest name in pain relief was Tylenol, made by Johnson & Johnson, and they were trusted, commanding over a third of the market, which is just insane money. But that trust, folks, was about to be shattered in the most horrific way imaginable. On the morning of September 29th, a 12-year-old girl named Mary Kellerman wakes up in her family's home in Elk Grove Village. Just a kid, bit of a runny nose, sore throat. Her dad, Dennis, does what any dad would do. He gives her one extra-strength Tylenol capsule to make her feel better. Mary takes the pill, goes into the bathroom to get ready for school. Moments later, Dennis hears a loud thump. He calls out, "Mary, are you okay?" No answer. He opens the door, and his little girl is on the floor, unconscious. She was still in her pajamas. They rush her to the hospital, paramedics doing everything they can, but it's no use. By 9:30 a.m., 12-year-old Mary Kellerman is pronounced dead. The doctors are completely stunned. A healthy kid doesn't just drop dead. They're thinking maybe a stroke, some kind of freak event. Her parents are just, as you can imagine, destroyed. They have no idea that the simple act of kindness from a father to his daughter had just ended her life. And just as the doctors are scratching their heads over what happened to Mary, the nightmare is only just getting started. Later that same morning, in nearby Arlington Heights, a 27-year-old postal worker named Helen Janus is feeling a bit under the weather. A young dad with 2 kids. He decides to stay home from work, and on his way back from picking the kids up from preschool, he stops at a Jewel grocery store and buys a bottle of extra-strength Tylenol. He gets home, has lunch, takes 2 capsules, and within minutes, he walks into his bedroom and collapses. His family finds him, they call 911, and he's rushed to the very same hospital where Mary Kellerman died just hours before. The doctors fight to save him, but again, nothing. A healthy 27-year-old man is dead, and nobody can figure out why. But this is where the story goes from a random tragedy to something straight out of a horror film. Adam's family, completely heartbroken, they all gather at his house to mourn. His younger brother, 25-year-old Stanley, and Stanley's 19-year-old wife, Teresa, they show up. The shock and the grief, it's overwhelming, and they both get these throbbing headaches. So what do? Stanley goes into Adam's medicine cabinet, finds the same bottle of Tylenol his brother had just opened, and he takes a couple. He offers the bottle to his wife, Teresa. She takes one too. Moments later, Stanley stumbles out of the washroom, says, "I don't feel good," and collapses into his wife's arms on the kitchen floor. And as the family is screaming in horror, Teresa herself collapses right beside him. Can you even imagine the absolute terror in that house? By the end of the day, 3 members of the same family are dead or dying. Stanley is pronounced dead that evening. Teresa is put on life support, but she passes away 2 days later. 3 healthy people, all gone after taking a pill from the exact same bottle. It's around this time that a few people start to put the pieces together. A couple of off-duty firefighters start comparing notes on these bizarre sudden deaths they're hearing on the radio. And one public health nurse on the scene at the Janus house, a woman named Helen Jensen, she sees the open Tylenol bottle. She counts the remaining pills. 6 capsules were missing. There were 3 victims. And she says, right then and there, it's the Tylenol. Get in there, Helen. So as the Janus family tragedy is unfolding, the poisoner's deadly work isn't done. The victims keep piling up. Mary Reiner, a 27-year-old mother who had just given birth to her 4th child. She takes a Tylenol for postpartum aches and collapses in front of her 8-year-old daughter. Mary McFarland, a 31-year-old single mother of 2, takes a Tylenol for a headache at work and never makes it home to her boys. And finally, Paula Prince, a 35-year-old flight attendant. She lands in Chicago after a flight from Vegas, feeling a bit of a cold coming on. She stops at a Walgreens, buys a bottle of Tylenol, and goes home. She's found 2 days later, dead on her bathroom floor. The open Tylenol bottle right there on the counter. 7 innocent people dead in just a couple of days. The one thing connecting them all? A bottle of extra-strength Tylenol. So they get the bottles to the lab, and an investigator named Nick Poss does what he's told. He opens the bottle from the Janus family home. The capsules look normal, but he gets this whiff, a strong smell of bitter almonds. Now get this, not everyone can actually smell this. It's a genetic thing, which is terrifying in itself. But thankfully, he could. And he and the medical examiner both blurted it out at the same time: cyanide. Lab tests quickly confirmed it. The capsules were laced with potassium cyanide, a poison so fast and so brutal that it shuts down your body's ability to use oxygen. You're essentially suffocating from the inside out. The victims never stood a chance. Investigators traced the lot numbers on the bottles and made a chilling discovery. They came from different factories in different states. This meant the poisoning wasn't happening during manufacturing. No, this was local. Someone was walking into stores in and around Chicago, buying bottles of Tylenol, taking them home, lacing the capsules with cyanide, and then sneaking them back onto the shelves. And in 1982, it was frighteningly easy to do. There were no tamper-evident seals, no foil, no plastic wrap, just a screw-top lid with a bit of cotton underneath. A monster could walk in, plant their poison, and walk out, and no one would ever know, until it was too late. The whole of Chicago, and soon the entire country, was gripped by flat-out panic. Police cars drove through neighborhoods with speakers, shouting, "Do not take Tylenol." It was like something out of a movie. The fear was insane. So, as the public is freaking out, a massive manhunt kicks off. The FBI gets involved, and they're looking for a needle in a haystack. A killer with no motive, who chose victims completely at random. It was, as one official put it, an act of domestic terrorism. Then, on October 6th, Johnson & Johnson gets a letter. It's a ransom note. And it basically says, if you want to stop the killing, pay me $1 million. So the FBI traces the bank account in the letter, and it leads them to this fella, James W. Lewis. And let me tell you, this guy was a real piece of work. He had a history of violence and mental instability. A few years earlier, he'd been charged with the gruesome murder of an old man in Kansas City who was found dismembered in his attic. But the charges were dropped on a technicality. Convenient, eh? Lewis admits to writing the extortion letter, but he swears he's not the killer. He claims he was just trying to get revenge on his wife's old boss by framing him. A charming fella. But despite being the prime suspect for decades, they could never find any physical evidence to tie James Lewis to the actual poisonings. They couldn't even prove he was in Chicago at the time. He was convicted for extortion and served 12 years in prison, but for the 7 murders, nothing. Now, you'd think a big pharma company would try and sweep this under the rug, right? Bury the story. But Johnson & Johnson, to be fair to them, they did the opposite. They issued a massive recall. 31 million bottles pulled from shelves nationwide at a cost of over $100 million. They put public safety first, and then they completely redesigned their packaging. They introduced the triple seal, tamper-evident packaging that we all see today. The glued box, the plastic wrap around the cap, the foil seal over the bottle. All that stuff we take for granted, it exists because a monster put poison in a pill bottle. And in the end, the case went cold. Years went by. New forensic techniques were tried, but nothing. No DNA, no fingerprints. James Lewis, the only real suspect they ever had, he was interviewed again and again over the years, always denying it. He died of natural causes in his home in July 2023, taking whatever secrets he had to the grave. To this day, the Tylenol murders remain officially unsolved. The killer was never caught. They got away with it. A faceless ghost who turned the one place you should feel safest, your own home, and the one thing you reach for when you're in pain, into a deadly game of Russian roulette. And that, my friends, is a truly terrifying thought. That's all for today's episode. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.